We'll call to order the meeting of the Haverford Township Zoning Hearing Board of Thursday, September 1st, 2022. Present at the front table to my far left is Jessica Vitale, a voting member.
Good evening.
Next to Jess is Ed McGargy, a voting member.
Hello.
My immediate right, Bill Rhodes, a voting member.
Good evening.
Next to Bill is Jesse Poynton, a voting member.
Good evening.
My far right, Kelly Kirk. I'll just do your actual title tonight, Kelly. Zoning Officer for Haverford Township. And at the other table, we have Margie Buchanan, Zoning Officer, Assistant Extraordinaire. All right, we have 4 new cases this evening, no continued cases. But before we begin, Bill, would you lead us to the pledge, please?
Sure, rise if you can and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to
to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice.
Before we begin this evening, I want to announce that we received a resignation letter from our former solicitor, Bill Malone, and I would like to make a motion to appoint the firm of Raphael and Pupio with Ernie Angelo in particular, who's here tonight, as our new solicitor.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion?
No.
Jessica, how do you vote?
I would agree.
Ed?
I agree.
Bill?
I agree.
Jesse?
I agree.
And so do I. That motion carries 5-0. Ernie, okay. Thank you, congratulations. Please join us.
Thank you, Board. Look forward to serving with you.
All right. Ed, do you want to address some administrative matters?
Yes, I'd like to talk about some minutes. The procedure that we've been following at the zoning hearing board after a detailed discussion between the township solicitor, and it was Jim Byrne at the time, and our zoning board solicitor at the time, Bill Malone, was that even though our meetings are recorded by the stenographer, that minutes would be provided for posting on the township website. It was agreed that the zoning hearing board solicitor would prepare these minutes to document actions taken by the zoning hearing board and voted on at an official hearing after being posted to the township website. The zoning hearing board only approved the June 2nd, 2022 meeting minutes in 2022. We received a few other sets of minutes, but the members of the zoning hearing board reported errors that needed to be updated. In order to address this concern presented to the zoning hearing board by Margie Buchanan of the township, I prepared or corrected the 10 sets of delayed meeting minutes for approval here tonight. I would like to make a motion to approve the following meeting minutes as distributed. January 6th, the reorganization meeting, January 20th, February 3rd, April 7th, April 21st, May 19th, June 2nd was already approved and should be posted to the website. June 16th, July 7th, let it be known that I wasn't in attendance at that meeting, but I did take the minutes based on the recording. And the final set of minutes was August 4th.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you, Ed.
Yeah, thank you, Ed.
Thanks, Ed.
And I know it took a lot of work, Ed, to do that, and we all appreciate it very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And now, on to the main event. Our first new case is Z22-20, Jennifer Folietta, lessee of 1245 Westchester Pike, Havertown, PA, DC folio number 2201-02466600, who seeks a variance from the off-street parking regulations of section 182404E as required in section 182707. In the alternative, applicant requests a special exception from these requirements. Property is zoned C3 and located in the 2nd Ward. Jennifer, are you here?
Good evening, Mr. Kane. My name is Ed Kelly. I'm an attorney on behalf of Ms. Folietta and her company Fibonacci Tattoos, LLC. My bar ID number is 84164. Ms. Folliette is here with me tonight. I don't know if you want to have her sworn in now or after I give a little introduction to the
I'll wait
board.
until after you're done, Ed.
Thank you. I apologize. As I got here this evening and saw the great multimedia setup that you have here, I have some pictures for the board. I have packets, so unfortunately they won't be up on the screen. And Mr. Angelos, I don't know if you want me to hand them up now, and then I can talk about them later and have them introduced into evidence. I don't know how you want to.
You can hand them.
This way,
Are you going
thank
to
you.
identify them now and move them, or are you going to?
Yes, I was going to identify them now and move them, and then discuss them as we went along, just for efficiency's sake, but I can also do it as we go along.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Just hand them up.
Thank you.
So this evening, I'll be introducing the following in the evidence, and I've marked them as A1 through 9, and there's going to be an additional one. And so the first one will be the application with the acknowledgement that was previously submitted to the board. That is part of our packet. A2 would be the lease that my client has signed for the premises, which is also attached to the application and has been previously submitted to the board. A3 is a picture of the front of the building in which the premises is located, showing a view standing on Westchester Pike. A4 is the parking lot, one view of the parking lot behind the building. A5 is another view of the parking lot behind the building. A6 is on the Eagle Road side of the building, behind the building, showing the parking lot. A7 shows parking spaces that are on the side of the building, on the Westchester Pike side. A8 shows the on-street parking on Westchester Pike, which again is on the front of the building. And then A9 is a floor plan which shows my client's anticipated renovations and the way she plans to set up the space for her business. And then the final exhibit, which is not listed here on the cover sheet, would be A10, which is also a part of the application, which I'll flip to now so that we can see it, which would be the, gives you, this is an older plan, which shows an overhead of the site with my client's is in the building on the left of the site. And it shows the parking spaces in the back of the building, the on street, on the front of the buildings, and on the side of the building in the center of the plan. So I would move now that they move these exhibits into evidence.
Okay, unless there's any objection, they're admitted.
So to reiterate, I am here on behalf of Fibonacci Tattoos LLC and the company's owner, Jennifer Folliette, who's here this evening, and you'll hear from her shortly. I also, at this time, want to introduce in the audience Richard Tiger. He's here in the back. He is the owner of the property. I do not plan to question Mr. Tiger, but he's here in support of the application. He is also here in case the board has questions regarding the certain aspects of the property that perhaps my client wouldn't be aware of, and also if there are any questions about the historical use of the property itself. This property is located at 1245 Westchester Pike, at the intersection of Westchester Pike and Eagle Road, located in the C3 General Commercial District. At issue tonight is off-street parking requirements. Accordingly, we're asking for a variance from the minimum off-street parking requirements of Section 182-404E as required in Section 182-707. The relevant passage here would be that there are The entire property needs 41 parking spaces. There are only 33 parking spaces on the property. With regard to my client's use, it requires 8 dedicated parking spaces plus a space for each employee. In the alternative, we are asking for a special exception from these requirements, and that's based on, I've been before this board prior with regard to parking and have pled in the alternative with that regard. The main argument here is that my client's business is going to have minimal impact to the parking in this area. She is the sole employee, will be the only one that will be providing services here. She will be operating a tattoo parlor with 1 chair. It will be by appointment only. You will not have any walk-up folks coming in to get tattoos, all by appointment. She anticipates hours between 12 noon and 8 p.m. And she's not selling anything else out of this location. It is strictly her providing tattoos. And she will give further description during her testimony as to her use, that even though we're here about parking, I think it's important for the board to hear how she intends to run her business and what type of impact it's going to have on the parking in that particular neighborhood. Just a brief description of the property in the neighborhood. As I said, it's the intersection of Westchester Pike and Eagle Road. This is a business corridor with commercial properties throughout the entire intersection and up and down Westchester Pike. And if you're familiar with the intersection, there is, in addition to the commercial properties at issue here, gas station on one side with Manoa Shopping Center next door to it. Across the street is there's a Starbucks, McDonald's is in the area, and a variety of other businesses all throughout the intersection. The building in which my client will be located is a 2-story building. There are currently, on the first floor are 4 retail businesses. So if you look at what I have called A3, which is the first picture in the exhibit packet, that shows you on the first floor, there is a blinds and drapery business. There is a business called Smoketown Vapes, and next to Smoketown Vapes is a business called Body Intensity. It's a personal fitness gym. Ms. Follietta is going to be going into where the Jackson Hewitt sign is located. You'll also see to the right that there's a sign for Smoothie King. That is the building that is labeled Old Bank Building on the old plans. That is, the entire parcel is owned by Mr. Tiger or a company that he's the proprietor of. So that gives an indication of that building. And the next door building, on the second floor, there are 5 residential apartments. Historically, this space, you see the Jackson Hewitt sign. Even though there's a Jackson Hewitt sign there, they never actually opened. Some of this is due to COVID-related reasons, but they never actually operated out of that space. Prior to the Jackson Hewitt, for 15 to 20 years, there was a business in there called Victoria's Nails. It was a nail salon, multiple stations, a lot of clients in and out, multiple employees. Never an issue with parking with regard to that business, but obviously it's going to be, after you hear from my client, it was a much higher impact on parking than my client's business will have in this particular area. With that being said, even when Victoria's Nails was operating for the 15 to 20 years it was there, never was an issue with parking with that business in this particular center. And to this day, there never has been an issue with parking or a need to find a parking space in that area. As I said earlier, there are 33 spots for the entire building, and that includes those spots that are on Westchester Pike in front of the building in question, as well as in front of Smoothie King, and all of those parking spaces behind the building and the 2 or 3 that are on the side are all considered in the calculus for the 33 parking spaces. So it is already out of compliance with the need for 41 spaces. So there's really, short of being no use in this space, there's no way to conform with this. And that gets into, the metrics that you need to use for a variance. The unique physical circumstances or condition of the building. Obviously, you need 41. You only have 33 parking spaces. There's no possibility the property can be used in strict conformity, considering the square footage and the 2 stories and the various uses that take place over there. My applicant didn't create this hardship, and the variance to allow her to operate for the parking isn't going to alter the character of the neighborhood. This is a commercial district through and through, and in fact, her use is going to be one of the least impactful uses that you could have in this location. And so the variance is going to be the minimum relief that you would need, least modification possible. With that being said, that's my introduction for our presentation today. At this time, I would like to have my client come forward, be sworn in, and answer a few questions.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and the capacity in which you appear this evening?
Jennifer Folletta, and the capacity is
Owner of the,
owner of Fibonacci Tattoos. I'd like to seek variance for parking regulations, please.
thanks, Jennifer.
Just by point of clarification, she's the tenant of the property pursuant to the lease in the application.
Owner of the business. I
Yeah,
took it
sure,
to-
understood.
And as a tenant with a lease, she has standing to be before this board this evening.
Thank you. Jen, can you tell the board a little bit about your background as a tattoo artist?
Sure. So I've been tattooing for about 10 years. I started when I was in high school, Haverford actually, and it's really the only thing I know how to do. I've been at RC's for the last 10 years, and I left there to pursue a place of my own, and this is where I'd like to be. Aside from that, I did a guest spot on WMMR radio for 5 years. That was bi-weekly, and that's my experience.
Now, why Havertown? Why did you decide to locate your business here? Or why do you want to locate your business in this town?
Well, I'm from Havertown. My whole family lives in Havertown, including my mom, who I really like to see very much. So I think it'd be really great for us, for me to be able to stop by and see her, not just on my way to work, but on my way home from work. She appreciates the time. So that was a big factor. I also have a lot of clients in the area, and it's only 20 minutes from where I live now, which is in Folsom.
Now, Jen, you heard me talk about, we know about the parking issue, but it's important to tell the board a little bit about how you're going to operate your business in terms of how that's going to impact parking. So what can you tell the board about how you're going to run day-to-day hours of operation, employees, customers, things of that nature?
Well, I'm the only employee, so it's just me at the shop, and then I can only tattoo one person at a time. I do make appointments only, so my clients generally wait between like 2 weeks to 2 months for these appointments. So it's very scheduled. I know who's going and coming and going. And I feel like there was
How about the hours of operation?
from 12 to 8, Monday through Saturday.
And so the way you schedule your appointments, anticipating, in addition to, say, your car, how many other cars would be there at any one time?
Well, I could imagine if I'm tattooing somebody, so I'd have my car, their car, and then maybe if somebody were to come in before their appointment, like a little earlier, then maybe 3 cars would be the maximum that I'd be able to, that I would have there, really, just because of the way we do schedule everything.
And Jen, I'm going to show you, and I'll refer the board to the last picture in the packet that I handed up, which is a floor plan. Can you just walk the board through the setup in your business as far as just to show how many stations you have and how many people could actually get a tattoo at one time?
Right, okay.
I know this seems pretty obvious, but, please just kind of walk us through a little bit.
Sure. So there is one workstation, that big black rectangle with the little circle next to it. That's my tattoo chair. And that's really the only place you can get tattooed in the shop. So we have a waiting area up front. You'd walk back through to and go past the drawing station. Drawing station is just something that we use to prepare stencils and like things like that, designs. And then there's a bathroom in the back that would obviously be for bathroom uses. And then that big gray rectangle with the X through it is a stairwell, so nobody would be in there. And I think that's...
Yep, that's perfect, thank you. Now, are there any state or local licenses or authorizations that you need for your business? You know, I mean, beyond the normal licenses that you would have to get through Haverford Township?
So there's no regulation state-wise, so the state of Pennsylvania doesn't regulate us. All of the regulations that we get are done locally. So we get our health inspection and we get our tattoo license or business license all through Haverford Township. But there's no regulations or anything that would be on a state level. I carry a BBB, or bloodborne pathogens, so that's like a certification for that. It's not necessary, but I feel like it makes a lot of people feel a lot more comfortable about the whole process, really, just to know that there's some sort of certification, not that it's necessary, but I like to keep it.
Now, what can you tell the board about prior tenants? Obviously, you weren't there, but in your course of your negotiation of your lease with the landlord, what information did you come to learn about former tenants at the property?
I know that there was a Jackson Hewitt there for about a year, and due to COVID, never really opened. And then prior to that was Victoria Nails, and they were there for 15 or 20 years. And that's as much as I know about the property.
Now, at any time did the landlord indicate that there had ever been a problem with parking with regard to businesses located in this building?
No, he did not.
Now, what can you tell us about the intersection where the business is located? And I don't know if you want to use any of the pictures that are in the, in the packet to describe the intersection and maybe the parking around the building.
Yeah. Let's see. So it's all businesses, and there's no residentials here. So it's a business corridor. It's in a high traffic area. It's on Westchester Pike and Eagle Road. There's parking out front. There's also a parking lot in the back. I know you guys can already see that. And then there is parking on the side. And I think that's...
Right, so at this point, you're referring to exhibits A3 through A8, which shows the variety of parking spaces available front, back, and to the side of the building.
Yes.
That is all the questions that I have for Ms. Folletta. I don't know if the board has anything for her.
Okay. Jessica?
Do you ever intend to expand your tattoo parlor to have a second workstation?
Not at this time, no. I really think that the way that my clientele works and with how busy I get, I couldn't even see rightfully bringing somebody else in, just because I don't think I would have the time to dedicate to making sure that they're doing everything to the standard that I have it.
Okay, and then when you schedule your clients, there's typically no overlap, but they can be back-to-back, correct?
They can be back-to-back. I usually give myself, I'm more generous with my time, so I've never had an issue with the timing for the clients. If somebody arrives early, that's the most that I think I've ever encountered with any of that.
And then on average, how many appointments do you typically have in a day?
It really depends on what I'm doing. Usually the way I like to do my day is 2 appointments. They're each about 3 hours long. And then, but sometimes I do have smaller tattoos. So sometimes I'll have maybe 3 hours and I'll have 2 little tattoos in those 3 hours. And then I'll have maybe another one after that that's a little larger.
But you don't typically see more than 5 people in one day?
Definitely not, no, unless it's like a family affair. Sometimes people want to get little matching ones, but they usually all schedule with me separately.
Right, okay. I have no further questions.
Well, that reminds me, Ernie, you're gonna have to get a zoning board tattoo on your arm. We all have them, but it would be inappropriate to show them. So we'll just let you go in on your own. Is that okay?
Fine.
Ed?
Yeah, I guess to highlight what Jessica had asked you already, would you be willing to accept a condition on any variance that you may be or may not be granted that would restrict to one employee?
Yes, that would be fine.
I have no other questions, but I do have a question on the application. I don't know if it's appropriate that I can address it with you since you presented it.
Yes.
Okay, the issue was the parking. Hewlett Packard, and there was a thing that this business would require 8 parking spots. Do you know how many parking spots Hewlett Packard, Jackson would require? Hewlett Packard, Hewlett Jackson.
I do not know that information. I don't know if Hewlett, what do you call it, Jackson Hewlett, yeah. Do you know the answer to
Yeah.
this? Okay, go ahead.
So it was an office space, so it requires 1 parking space per every 200 square feet and no parking spaces per employee. So they would need 4 parking spaces.
Okay. And 4 parking spaces to now increase to 8. Now, the other thing that I noticed, and I didn't hear discussed, is there's another business on the other side of the building? Is that still there, the computer repair or phone repair business?
Is that, on the Eagle Road side of the
Yes,
building?
yes, there is one over there.
Oh, yeah, yes, it is.
Okay. I use that, so
Yeah.
I knew it was there. Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
Bill?
Did you discuss with your landlord whether you would have, the parking on the site as part of your lease negotiations?
From what I understand, none of those parking spots, sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. None of those parking spots are allotted to any one specific business, so no parking spots would specifically come with mine, just like nobody else has their own parking spaces.
And so the building has I'm looking at A10, your overhead site plan. You've counted parking spots, essentially what looks more or less like a block. But the building that's marked as the Old Bank Building, which I think is the Smoothie King,
Correct.
right, drive-through. Is that the same is that the same property?
Yes.
It is.
So
It's all one property.
all one property.
And so, do they have walk-in or is it drive-through only?
My understanding is they have walk-in and drive-through. My understanding is the bulk of their business is derived from their drive-through. Derived from their drive-through.
And so, you've also counted, by my count at least here, 6 spots that are angled street parking?
That is correct.
Okay, and anyone can park there, right? It's not limited to business use only, is it?
I don't know if it's limited to, and Mr. Tiger might be better able to answer that, because I know that those spots are not, I will call public parking spaces. They are part of the property. They are, in other words, they are not a, public street. That's still part of the property. There are parking spaces on the parcel that, if Mr. Tiger wanted to, could restrict them to customers of the businesses only.
Kelly, is that correct? That those can be restricted by a property owner?
Good question. The zoning code doesn't really address it. So long as the parking ratio is met, and it's not, taken up by a dumpster or something like that. But it doesn't actually say whether you can or cannot identify parkings for different uses.
Sworn in.
You're asking if there's
Yeah.
4 spots.
I need to swear you in.
Get you sworn in.
That's part of
Wait,
the
Yeah,
lot.
Rich, we'll get you sworn in. Get you sworn in.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Your full name and the capacity in which you appear?
Richard Tiger, and I'm a partner, one of the owners. Yeah, GE.
Okay, go ahead.
How to spec it.
Those are part of the lot that is owned by us, and none of the spaces are dedicated to any of the, there are no dedicated parking to any
Understood.
particular business.
So do you maintain the parking spots along Westchester Pike? Do you pave those? Do you stripe them yourself?
Yes.
And so I'm looking at page A8, or Exhibit A8, and it looks like there's 3 parking spots there, but A10 suggests that you've got 4. Can you tell us which one it is?
So this shows 3.
Yeah,
That plan
I'm
shows
not sure,
4.
I haven't, I guess depending on how they painted the lines when they did the last, resurfacing of the lot, that's how, that.
When you say that, you mean a contractor that you
Yeah,
hired?
the contractor, the driveway people who did the asphalt. They, they don't ask us how to paint the lines before they do it.
Okay, but at some point, it's hard to read in A10 what the year on this plan was.
Oh, that's.
70,
Yeah, the building was renovated in the mid-seventies, and I believe that's when that was prepared.
have you reviewed A10? Have you looked at this?
I've seen it before.
As property owner, is there anything on this that you think is incorrect other than apparently the Westchester Pike parking spot stripes?
No. Nothing's changed.
And have you ever noticed any queuing on people trying to get in and out of your parking lot on the public streets?
Have I seen what?
People
I've
backed
not
up
seen
trying to
that.
get in or out?
I've not seen that. I can honestly say I've never seen that parking lot more than half full.
Thank you. Ms. Folietta, can I just, in Exhibit A, sorry, A9, I believe it is, which is your office plan. In your waiting area, you've got seating for 5 depicted. Is there a reason? Is that how you actually have it laid out?
Is there a reason I put 5 in there?
Yeah.
There's really not. I wanted to just kind of give you guys a picture of like what it would look like. I don't know that I'm gonna have necessarily that much seating.
When people come to get a tattoo, do they often bring someone with them?
Sometimes a lot of the tattoos, like I said, I like to set my day up to do 2 tattoos a day, so each tattoo is 3 hours. Not many moral support once people want to come in for 3 hours. So usually I would say no. Sometimes for the smaller tattoos, they'll bring somebody with them. But even then, they usually come and leave together. It's not like somebody coming separately.
And would you be okay if we were to grant the variance and condition on no walk-up customers? Would you be okay with that?
Absolutely.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you very much.
Jesse?
Yeah, so I've watched a couple tattoo shows on TV.
Love those.
Sometimes they have an apprentice, so I know we talked about whether you might have another employee, but would you have any plans to take on an apprentice?
Not at this time, no. I feel like with the way that my day is set up and just how busy I've been in the past, that I don't see having enough time to dedicate towards teaching somebody how to do really anything or being able to watch them enough to feel confident in taking someone else on, because it's not really fair to them. And I think especially with stipulations and me just being appointment only, it's also not really fair for them to expect for them to be able to learn when they don't have a client basis the way that I do.
And you also, I think, mentioned that you've done guest spots, and I think that's also a thing, right, in the tattoo world. I think there was a question about whether you bring in another chair. Would you ever consider bringing in a guest tattoo artist for a short period of time?
I don't know any, not at this time. I haven't really given too much thought to guest artists, but if I'm only set up for one tattooist, that would mean that I wouldn't be able to work when they're in there.
And I guess the last question would be, you also show a front desk, and so if there's not another employee, is that just where you would do the transaction for payment?
It is, yeah. So one of the things that the health department does require is that you have a front desk and it's a non-permeable surface. So it's basically there to meet that standard, and then also so that I don't have people just walking back when they walk in the door. They come up to the desk, they get their paperwork. We make sure it's all filled out before we get started.
And it also looks like there's either a gate or a door next to the front desk. Is that for the same purpose?
Yeah, exactly. So somebody just doesn't walk back, and then maybe this is the third time I've seen them this month, and I'm like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm ready for you. And then we start tattooing, and they don't get their paperwork because everybody has to do that every time.
Okay, great, thanks. I don't have any other questions.
I just had one other question. If you are providing tattoo services and it's appointment only, do people just phone in and leave a message, and when you free up, you call them back, or how do you answer the phone to take appointments?
I'll usually stop tattooing to answer the phone. But yeah, so generally people call in. If they did want to schedule a consultation before their appointment, because I'm tattooing all day, I don't have the time to stop unless we actually schedule them for the consultation. So they would be coming in separately. Like, I would not have an appointment while I was doing a consultation, because they generally take at least a half an hour.
Anything else? Jess?
No.
Ed?
No other questions.
Bill? Nope. Jesse? Okay, I have no questions. Anything else you'd like to add, Ed?
No, Mr. Kane, that's all that I have this evening.
Okay. With that, I'll ask if there's anyone present that received certified mail that wishes to testify. Anyone present that received regular mail? Any other residents of Haverford Township? With that, we'll close the record on this case, and a decision will be rendered either this evening. If we're unable to reach a decision this evening or render a decision this evening, one would be rendered at our next regularly scheduled meeting on September 15th.
Could I make one adjustment? We do not have any cases that are
We're going to do
scheduled.
them. But I have to announce it publicly that way.
Well, I was just going to say, if we could, if needed for whatever reason, continue or render the decision on October 6th.
All right, well, I'll announce that then as the alternative date. So if not tonight, then October 6th.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're going to have to remind me of that each time, Cal. Thanks, Ed.
Believe me, I will if I get a night off.
Sometimes things happen for a reason. All right, our next case is Z22-21, John and Mary Kathleen Non, owners of 124 East Eagle Road, Havertown, PA, DC folio number 2203-008630, who seek a variance from the provisions of section 182-206C6 to reconstruct and extend a one-story mudroom to encroach into the required 8-foot side yard setback by 2 feet 11 inches. Property is owned R4 and located in the 3rd Ward. John and Mary.
Good evening. My name is John Non. I'm representing myself and my wife, Mary Kathleen Non, who's here with us in the back watching some of our kids.
Okay, I'm going to swear you.
Go
Please
ahead.
raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And now your full name and address for the record,
Sure.
please.
My name is John Eugene Non, N-A-W-N. I live at 124 East Eagle. I am the co-property owner with my wife, Mary Kathleen Non, here with me. I will be testifying for both of us. We have been the property owners since the 28th of February, 2020. I'm accompanied by Thomas Wiedemann, our architect, who will be available for questions and to be sworn in if there are any. I'd first like to introduce into evidence my own packet here. There are 5 pieces in each packet.
Thank you, John. So, John, you've got them marked 1, 2, 3, 4.
I do, yes.
5, 6. So let's amend that to be A1,
Sure.
A2, A3, A4, A5.
Absolutely. So
A standing for applicant.
Sounds good. A1 through A3 are atlases publicly available through the local historical societies, and I'll address those in a minute. A4 is a letter of support for our application from our neighbors who are currently in COVID restriction, or isolation, excuse me. At 128 East Eagle, they are not the property owners who we share the boundary with. That is in question here. The last letter is from Dr. Temitope Omolohinwa. She is a Temitope, Temitope, Omolohinwa, Omolehinwa. She's a doctor, a dentist who keeps busy office hours and is not able to join us this evening. But she owns the property at 120 East Eagle, where the side setback that we were discussing shares a side, obviously, and she's writing in support as well there. So the question before the board tonight, the request is for a continuation of a pre-code variance. At issue here is the property we live in, 124 East Eagle, was built in 1920. I don't have the map for you because it's a little bit outdated, but the 1920 Pennsylvania Railroad Atlas for Ardmore West, plate 25, the same as A2, which we'll talk about in a minute, shows our lot as existing since 1920. The house was not built in 1920 yet, but was being built, but shows from that time where the lot sits. The 1926 one, A1, shows our house on the lot. That's lot number 2 at the bottom there. Eagle Road being important to Havertown, most of these maps has divides through Eagle Road, so you'll see our lots are usually on the bottom there. But A1 shows our lot number 2 between Hollis and Whitby, is one of the only 2 houses, lot 2 and lot 4, ours being lot 2. There was no house on lot number 1 at the time. It's the first one there in 1926. The map from 1937 is, again, the Pennsylvania Railroad Atlas. It shows our house, again, one of the only 2 on that block at 124 East Eagle. You'll notice that the shape of the house conforms to the existing shape, suggesting that the foundation has existed in its current form since it was first laid. That is, there is an asymmetric foundation where one side is about 10 foot wider, where the existing mudroom is, on the northwest side of the house against lot number 1. I'll look at that. And the same thing is shown again on the 1948 Atlas. That's evidence A3. The house takes its current shape that it still has with, an asymmetric foundation where one side is 10 feet longer along the existing property line. So the code comes into existence in 1974, but our house was already out of code before the code existed for the requirement of an 8-foot minimum setback. The current setback is 5'11" against the property line on the side yard there. We're not asking to encroach any further into the existing yard. We are asking to extend it. The mudroom currently is 10 feet from the back of the house. We're asking to extend it to 11'10", less than a 2-foot variance on a 58-foot rear setback, the minimum being 25. So again, we're asking to keep the 5'11" setback on the side of the house and extend it 2 feet further. And to enlarge the mudroom to make it more usable for our family. Again, the code 182-201 says that the reason for the zoning code is to make provisions for the current and future population in subitem A. Our population in our house is growing. We have 5 children, so we need all the space we can get. And again, as far as code B goes, or subitem B, where it talks about light, air, and space, this is a minimal change of 2 feet of extension and along the existing setback, not encroaching any further. With that, I've introduced my evidence and the supporting documentation. Happy to answer.
John,
go ahead.
you did not mark the plot plan or demo and proposed plan. Do you want those?
May I see?
It's what you attached to your application.
Sorry, the question.
You need, do you want to mark that and move it as an exhibit into the case?
Oh,
So that'll be A6. Thank you. No worries.
But again, with that, I'll answer any questions you have, and I will also refer any technical questions to our architect, Thomas Wiedemann.
So just in simple terms, what are you trying to do exactly?
Yeah, sure. We are, again, the setback is 5'11" on the side yard. We want to not encroach any further. We just want to extend it 1 foot 10 feet into the rear, which would not encroach on the rear setback at all.
Jesse?
Could you It says here, but just so we enter it into the record, you talk about the state of the existing mudroom. Could you describe that to the board and
Yeah,
why?
sure. So
Why?
it's- Go ahead.
Also, you might want to slow down just
Yeah,
a
I
little for
apologize.
Arlene. I can see her hands are smoking.
That's good, sorry.
Yeah, could you give us the state of the existing mudroom and why, what new purposes and what new uses
Sure.
you plan?
So it currently serves, I guess, three purposes. When we moved in 2020, the two owners prior, an elderly couple, had used it, I think, as a first floor bathroom where they had placed the bathroom in there. The bathroom is not enclosed. It is opened to the rear of the house, so you can walk in the back door and walk in on someone using the bathroom. So it's not an ideal situation. It's a bathroom, it's a pantry, and it also is a laundry room. That combination at least requires some sort of partition for minimal hygiene and, dignity. And as far as the actual usability of the space, introducing partitions, we'd like to create some more space so not everything is so cramped back there by doing that. It adds about 28 square feet to extend about 2 feet into the rear setback. So continuing the use as it is, a laundry room, a bathroom, and a pantry of sorts, with a sitting area perhaps for a breakfast nook, but again, just making it a little bit larger to fit all those comfortably.
You also, in your application, it says the existing mudroom is in bad shape and needs to be rebuilt. So do you feel that beyond what you've described already as far as the less than hygienic or private use, is it also physically deteriorated to the point where it might be a safety hazard?
No, it is colder than the rest of the house because when the foundation was laid, it's sitting on the ground. It's not insulated within the actual foundation because it sits over the soil. It does not have a basement beneath it. So it is colder and significantly so in the winter, but it is not unstable. We pass through it frequently without any issue.
And then the proposed new rebuilt mudroom, could you describe the material palette that you plan and the type of roof?
I would defer that to Thomas Wiedemann here.
You can come forward. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And your full name and the capacity in which you appear before the board this evening?
Thomas Wiedemann, architect.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I think you heard my question. Could you just describe the material palette, the siding, the roofing? Is it going to be in keeping with the character of the existing home?
Yes, it definitely will keep in with the character. We're coming in with, I believe we're going to redo the foundation. It's, right now, the stone's kind of, there's parts that are crumbling, so we're going to put a new concrete foundation. We're going to bring everything up to the insulation, the current insulation codes, 2x6 walls, R21 wall insulation. We're going to get, the rafters are going to allow for R38 insulation, new windows. And really the size, the extra 2 feet seems like, it's not much, but it allows them to have a little eating area in there and the bathroom and a little bit of a laundry area. It really, kind of the smallest that we could do it.
And you said you have 5 children?
Yes, correct, yes.
And the type of siding and roofing?
I believe we're going to
determined?
do a hardy panel.
And then what shape roof, so that we know which direction any rainwater will be conducted?
And
I can grab it.
Or Bill, it's a good question.
okay, looks like it was a shed roof pointing towards the back.
Yeah, the current roof is gabled on 3 sides down towards the existing side, towards the yard, on the rear, and then on the other side, where it is not contiguous with the edge of the house.
So it'd be the same?
Yeah, the same design.
I'll yield to my colleagues.
Same roof height as the existing height?
Yeah.
Same plate height.
So the only real change that you're looking for is to simply extend the rear wall backward, still within the rear yard setback, but simply but the existing mudroom encroaches in the side yard setback, and you would continue that encroachment at the same depth to the side property line.
Yes, correct.
No closer to the property line.
No.
I don't have any other questions.
Ed?
The plot plan that you provided with us, what exhibit number did we give that?
6.
Exhibit 6. I'm looking at the existing demolition first floor plan and existing mudroom, and it shows a dimension going back 10 feet. Okay, and then I look at the proposed mudroom, and it shows 11 foot 10 inches. So where's this 2 foot?
Well, it's 1 foot 10 is dimension. It goes back another 1 foot 10.
So, but in the thing, it says 2 foot 11 inches. So where does that?
That's the setback.
That's the side yard setback. It's an 8-foot minimum on the side. We are 5 foot 11 or 5 foot, I think it's 5 foot 11, yes.
Gotcha. So
Currently.
you're basically, that 2 foot 11 is what the existing mudroom in the existing house is.
Already, yeah, the whole house encroaches on that.
But you're not extending any further into that other than the fact that you're going to make a 1 foot extension of the structure, so you'll impacting that setback by another foot, 1 foot 10 inches.
That's correct.
Okay, and then the mudroom itself, the width of it seems to be, the existing is 15, and the deck itself is not part of the structure, that's part of the,
We are not pursuing the deck at this time.
yeah, okay, that makes,
If we were to pursue that, we'd obviously have to get that to make sure it was it.
so there would only be a landing proposed at this point.
That's correct.
No other,
Jessica?
You testified that you'll be taking down the foundation as part of this work and repouring new foundations, correct? What is stopping you from just moving the mudroom over the 2 foot 11 to comply?
That's a good question. You can-
Yeah, we had discussed that, and you can see they're extending the kitchen into the mudroom, and the cabinets there, and, you'd have to stop them. You wouldn't be able to bring the cabinets into the mudroom.
There's also a window on the right side of the house if you're looking in towards the mudroom, that any movement over would encroach upon that window.
Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you.
I have no questions.
Wait, can I, just real quick? Sorry. 2 things. Was the property surveyed?
Yes.
It was, okay. So it was, the licensed
Yeah.
surveyor did come out and mark
Yeah,
the property
Catan,
line.
yeah.
And we did,
Tanya came out, staked it out on the side.
perfect, just wanted to make sure, because you have such a large side yard setback on the other side, that I wanted to make sure that there wasn't just a fence that went up in the
No,
wrong
it's
spot
surveyed,
years
and
ago.
the fences are pretty much on the property line.
Perfect, I love that. I always tell people to do that, just so that doesn't happen.
Exactly, yes.
My other question was, do you know what year your house was built?
1920.
1920. Okay, with the deed says the property wasn't subdivided until 23.
I can't testify to that. Again, the Pennsylvania Railroad Atlas says in 1920 that there were 5 lots along the north side of Eagle Road. That's about when John Marshall Guest sold the property, which became Merwood Estates, all that development back there, the 125 acres. Our house is, the earliest it's on a physical plot is 1926. As 1923 is subdivided, that would create some issues with what at least the atlases that are concurrent with that period are saying. Yeah, I don't have a copy of it unfortunately, but the 1920 Pennsylvania Railroad Atlas, which is available through, I believe, the Lower Merion or the Delaware County Historical Site, does have, I have a copy I can forward to you if you'd like. It does have 5 lots along between Warren and Hollis and Whitby and Merwood.
So there, let's say it was a proposal. Done that prior to it being recorded. But the house itself wasn't built.
The earliest, again, I can say 1926 for sure. We're told it's 1920.
The only reason I asked.
Go ahead.
The county records are saying 1920 also. wouldn't be-
Yeah,
That is also not super.
Correct.
Quick, gives you an idea, in this case, I'm looking for something else. Or is our first zoning goes in 1925,
Oh, I apologize.
But since that really can't be confirmed.
Yeah. I was referencing this one, but yeah,
It may have been right.
yeah. The house is on maps from 1926. Yeah, I can't say earlier than that, I suppose.
Okay, any other questions, Jessica?
No.
Ed? No. Bill?
Nothing.
Jesse? Anything else you'd like to add?
No.
With that, I'll ask if there's anyone present that received certified mail that wishes to testify. Anyone that received regular mail? Any other residents of Haverford Township? And before I close the case, presumably you want your exhibits, which have been marked and identified, moved into the record, correct?
That's correct.
They're admitted into the record. We'll close the record on this case, and a decision will be rendered either this evening or at our October 6th hearing, if we're not able to do a decision tonight.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Let's take a 2-minute break. Off the record. There. Good to go. All right, our next case is Z22-22. Christopher and Jill Welsh, owners of 115 Waterview Circle, Havertown, PA, DC folio number 2201-0236153, who seek a variance from the provisions of section 182604F1A to allow the construction of a 22-foot by 22-foot addition and to expand an existing rear deck by 24 square feet within the 100-year floodplain. Property zone R2 and located in the 4th Ward. Christopher, I presume?
Yes,
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and address for the record, please?
Christopher Welsh, 115 Waterview Circle, Havertown, PA. I'm also an attorney. My attorney ID is 201068.
Okay, and do you have exhibits that you want to?
So I can mark and move the packet, which I submitted for this hearing today. I can either mark and move that collectively as A1, or I can go through each page depending on how the board prefers.
I think it might be better to individually
Okay.
mark.
I don't have other copies. I'm just going to refer to the ones on the screen. Do you guys all have copies? Okay.
I give you my copies.
I could just use the screen if that's okay.
Okay.
The only thing that I have in addition to what's on the screen, and I apologize for not making 7 copies of it, is a letter signed by 3 of my neighbors who live adjacent to us in 115 Waterview Circle. But I'll just mark initially the zoning application that is dated July 29th of 2022 as A1. And that's 2 pages long. It's signed by myself and my wife, Jill Welsh. She's not here today, but she's home with our kids. As A2, the letter from Thomas Wiedemann, who's our architect who's working with us on this project, who's present here today and can testify if the board has any questions for Mr. Wiedemann. As A3, a copy of our deed, which we moved in August of 2018. And that is 3 pages long. A4 is the notice and acknowledgement of the rules for this hearing, which I signed. A5 is the survey of our property. A6 is the elevation certificate that is 2 pages long. And I think this is actually, looking at the picture, I think this is actually part of the elevation certificate. So it's 2 pages of written text followed by 2 pages with 3 photographs of the property. And then A7 would be I don't know what you would call this. What would you refer to this as?
Zoning drawing.
A zoning drawing prepared by the architect, Mr. Wiedemann, that shows the lot and the proposed construction on the back of the property. And then also A8 would be another copy of the survey from a different angle. And then when mark a copy of A9, I can hand it up, a letter from 3 of our neighbors. Waterview Circle is a cul-de-sac right off of Darby off of Darby Creek Road, like immediately off of Lawrence Road. There are 8 houses in the cul-de-sac. of those 8 houses, the property at 103 Waterview Circle, 107 Waterview Circle, 111 Waterview Circle, and then our property at 115 Waterview Circle. The back of the property line for all 4 of those is the Darby Creek. And then as you sort of circle around to the other side of the cul-de-sac, the other side of Waterview Circle, those properties, the property line for those is the property that's on Lawrence Road. So they don't have and behind, I guess, the one, if you're looking at our house, if you're standing in front of 115, the property to the left, the backyard of that is actually the apartment complex that is right off of Westchester Pike and Lawrence Road. I'm here seeking a variance from permission to build an in-law suite on the back of our house. We're seeking a variance from section 182-604 F1A. The variance is, the law governing the variance is section F3. I'd move all of the exhibits into the record. I'd mark this letter, also move it into the record. I don't know how you.
They're admitted. Thanks.
A brief description of, so we moved into our house was built, actually, step back a second. The Pennsylvania Floodplain Management Act was passed in 1978. And after that act was passed, any construction that wants to take place in the 100-year floodplain, you have to seek a variance from the Township Zoning Board. Our house was built in 1982. So our house, the actual development, 1982. So the original developer for all of the houses in Waterview Circle had to seek a variance from the township in order to build all of our houses. So I guess your predecessors sitting on this board approved the plan for the development in Waterview Circle. The houses, all of the neighbors who signed that letter, the houses to the right of us that also have their properties, the back of their properties are the Darby Creek. All of them have similar additions onto the back of their house that have happened after their original construction. So presumably each one of those residences, or the owners of those properties, one of which, Varsha, whose name is on there, is an original owner of the property, have all come before this board seeking similar variances to the one that we're here seeking today, and have had those variances granted. The purpose of so I live in this house with my wife and my 2 kids. We moved to Haverford Township from Philadelphia to raise our kids here. My one daughter is in 1st grade, my other daughter is in 3rd grade. My mother-in-law lives in Central Jersey. My father-in-law passed away a while ago. She's getting up in age, so we made the decision to have her move in with us. And the purpose of building this addition off the back of the house is to accommodate her living with us. It is from our driveway through to the proposed addition on the back. There's no stairs. So my mother-in-law has been a frequent visitor to our house at Waterview Circle. So all of our neighbors know her. So that's why we're building it. That's why we're asking for permission to build it. When you are looking at, our property's pretty big. It's about an acre, just shy of an acre, the lot. And if you are standing on our existing deck looking back, it's pretty far to get back there to the Darby Creek. And the people that would be able to see that addition off the back of the house are the neighbors, who are next door to us, who have signed the letter of support. But otherwise, you wouldn't really be able to see it at all unless in the winter, driving by on Westchester Pike, when there's no leaves on the trees, you can actually see into our backyard. But in any event, I would just rely upon the evidence presented. Actually, I can show you from right here. The evidence presented from this letter from our architect as far as the ability of the addition to withstand another 100-year flood. And if you look at the picture, I'm not sure which A I marked this, but there's a pretty steep slope from the back of our, from the back of our house downward. The deck, which you can sort of see where I'm over the pointer there.
Is this one of the photos attached to your elevation certificate?
Yes.
So that would be A6.
A6, yes. So it's the third page of A6. I'm just showing you on the screen there with the pointer. The deck is probably 6-7 feet up off the ground, and that is comes right out off the first floor of the property. So from the front of the house, the land just sort of slopes straight down. So where at the front of the house, the actual ground just sort of walks right in through the front door. At the back of the house, you can see there's like 6 to 7 feet to get up to that first floor because the land just continually slopes away. And from where this picture is taken, it's probably another 25, 30 yards to actually get back to the creek. What we're planning on doing is building out like where the arrow is right here, like the entire structure, the basement out as the foundation, and then the actual living space would be right off of the first floor. So there's a window right here behind the bush that is in our dining room. So we would convert that window into a door, like it's a double window. So it would be a door that could be handicap accessible, and the actual living space would be, at the same height as the first floor that our current structure. And in the basement, we're not going to do anything really in the basement. We're going to cover it, and so that if there is flood water ever comes up, they'll be protected. But we don't plan on having anyone live down there or actually finishing the basement at all.
Okay. Questions, Ed?
Yes. You didn't happen to have in your possession a copy of the FEMA floodplain map?
I do not. I believe that I don't have it in my possession. I thought I actually found it on the website, the zoning website. When I was trying to figure out where we were zoned, like low density residential versus something else, I think it's actually on the Haverford Township website.
So we have any knowledge of whether or not your entire property, cul-de-sac, or just part of the property is in the 100-year floodplain?
It's the whole cul-de-sac. All of Waterview Circle is in I believe that all of Waterview Circle is in the floodplain. Because we're like literally the back of all of our properties is the Darby Creek.
Right. How long you said you lived there?
So we lived there since 2018. In 2020, when Isaias came through, we had water. The 4 houses, all the people that supported this and our house, had water basically right up to the back of the houses. We had, I want to say, 6 inches maybe of water in our basement that the sump pump was able to push out. But all of this, like the water was all the way up to the house. The Darby Creek behind our house is, if you were to stand in it, it doesn't even come up to your knee. It's probably like less than 2 feet deep. But with Isaias, I looked at the, I guess it's probably the National Weather Service report on the storm that came through. And we had about 5 inches of rain prior, the surrounding area had about 5 inches of rain prior to that. And then we had about 8 inches of rain during that storm. We didn't have to do the sump pump, the current sump pump in our house, of which we only have one, was able to force all of the water out of the house. So the actual building of this addition, and I mean, the person who's going to build it, our general contractor is also here with me, but can answer the question. I actually think it will provide more protection for our current basement because nothing's been done to the foundation or to put any type of like protective lining around the basement of the house since it's been built. So by expanding it backwards, putting another sump pump in there, and sort of protecting the basement area of the back of the house where the water would come up would, I think, actually make the house more protected.
That was on your elevation certificate, that the under your flood elevation, 185. And I don't know, existing house says the top of the bottom floor, the basement, below that, by 150. House has a basement?
Yeah, I switched to another picture here, and this is not the side of the house where it would be, this is the other side of the house where the deck is. But this, as you can see, like this floor that is the main floor in the house. Below that is our basement, which is, 8 feet high basement, and above that is the main living floor.
Putting in the basement. What are you putting in the basement?
Nothing. So we were debating whether or not. I'm sorry?
On the elevation, proposed rear elevation.
So we currently have like small, and I don't think I have a picture, but we have not like a full-size window in our basement. Along the back and on the side of the house, we have like, I want to say like 2-foot-high windows. So we would probably put similar, let me see if I can find a picture on here. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we threw a couple windows in there, basically.
I need to swear you again. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Your full name and the capacity in which you appear.
Thomas Wiedemann, architect.
Okay, go ahead, though.
We did put a few windows there, basically just for sunlight, to get a little light into that room. Basically, it's a basement because the floor level out there is going to be almost 8 feet above the ground. And you still have to go down another 3 feet for your footer. So you're going to have a basement whether you want one or not. It's just whether it's in accessible space that, it just makes sense that it's basement, then it's going to be sealed. The concrete's going to be waterproofed. We're going to have drainage pipes on the inside and outside, and some pumps with battery backups.
You know whether the elevation of your first floor on your building is under the elevation of the floodplain elevation, 185 feet?
We'll match the existing first floor, which I believe is slightly below.
Right. So the windows will even be lower than that.
So the question on like, do we need another, we don't actually need more space, like a basement room under there. We really just want to build a mother-in-law suite. But the question was, should we just leave that open and, sort of put it on pilings, for lack of a better word? Or should we frame that in and make that like another basement room? And the thought was that if you frame that in, waterproof the outside of it, put another sump pump in there, that would actually help our existing basement rather than, like, it wouldn't cost that much more because we're digging down already to make the pilings to support the addition. And by adding the sump pump and adding sort of the waterproofing of that basement, it would further protect the existing basement. At least that's the theory.
But if you put windows in a bathtub below the level of the water, it's not going to be helped by something.
And I don't particularly care if there's windows there or not. There are currently windows there. Like the windows that are pictured here, we currently have windows in our basement. And again, I wish I had a picture of the other side, but like let me go back to like right here on the other side of the house. There's a window on the other side of the deck, and sort of right here on the other side of the house, there's a window that's maybe 1.5 feet by 3 feet across. So like, I don't particularly care if there's a window, there's not a window, there just is windows there right now.
It's just if there's ever any water that does get in there, it's nice to have some
Oh, it
windows.
will. It'll get in there because it's in the floodplain. So it's in the floodplain. You didn't experience it since 2018. But we're in a period where floods are ever increasing because of the climate change. That level, and that even the flood certificate you have isn't the latest and greatest floodplain because they've changed the floodplain just recently in Haverford Township. So I don't know what the current floodplain, whether it made a change or not. I don't know that because you haven't presented that information. The other thing is the question of your basement. You said that area has no utilities.
The electric panel is in the basement, like our current panel.
No, I meant, okay, but so you're going to connect this basement into your other basement, into your.
Yes, I mean, we were just gonna put a door in there, again, on the theory that if we're gonna put another sump pump in here, and when we took on a little bit of water in 2020 in there, and the sump pump that's underneath is on this side of the house and shot the water out this side of the house. The theory would be to put another sump pump in over here, and any water that gets into the basement, like all the water that goes into the basement can get shot out with that other sump pump. So rather than, theoretically, if another storm came through and we took on more water, rather than solely relying on the one that's on the other side of the house over here, we would have another one over here that could also push the water out. And I agree with you. I don't particularly care if we have the windows in there or not, but if the flood comes tomorrow with or without this addition, we're gonna take water in those windows because we have them. So maybe we should think about sealing up the windows that are currently in the basement, but right now, we got them. And the windows that are depicted in this are literally of the same. They might look a little bigger top to bottom in this picture than the ones that we have, but I would not want to have ones that go further down the wall than the ones that we have.
We also looked at the issue that your deck used to be open underneath, and now you're gonna put a structure so the water would be not allowed free access under the deck anymore.
No, that's just open wood trellis or vinyl trellis system.
Yeah, that is open underneath.
It's the same deck.
Yeah, but I'm talking about now the structure blocks one side of it.
Yeah, so the way that the water when the water came up, if this is the back of our house, the water sort of flowed through the backyard here.
Just to be clear, you're referring to exhibit,
Boundary survey plan, which I believe is
is that 8?
Yeah.
Okay.
The actual flowing of the water down the Darby Creek was probably 20 feet down from the deck. The water rose up to the back of the house, and I think it would still rise up to the back of the house and rise up to underneath where that deck area was, but it's not
It's not rushing water.
It's basic
It's
that
slowed
if
away.
you're looking at our house, the house to the right of us, the Marks house, their house sort of blocks the flow so that it slopes sort of down the backyard through the parking lot that's next to it. The parking lot in the apartment building next to us is 10 to 15 feet below the bottom of our house. So I don't know how many units are in that apartment building, but when that rolled through in 2020, every car that was parked in that parking lot was totally underwater.
Sure.
Yeah.
And there's no chance that you would eliminate the basement and raise the elevation of the floor above the 100-year floodplain elevation?
To raise the elevation of the floor.
Of your addition?
I mean, if we had to, we could step that up, but then
I guess I'm not sure. You've raised the flood of the actual in-law suite that's equal to the first floor.
addition.
I mean, the whole part of the point of having the in-law suite is to not have stairs that the person has to go up and down. And literally you can roll through our front door into our living room, into the dining room, and right out the back door. And if we're gonna take on water, I mean, we might as well raise the whole house at that point, because
Well, we can't make you do that. We can just not approve the addition to make anything worse. Make a livable space where somebody's risking life and limb by living in a structure that they could be inundated, flooded.
I know. I guess I would submit to you that, that I wouldn't be asking you to do that if I actually thought I was going to put my mother. I'm trying to have her move into my house to help protect her and live the rest of her life in peace and tranquility, not to have her be, danger of flooded away down the Darby Creek. And this board has already granted variances for this type of construction on.
Well, that's hearsay. We don't have it. You didn't present any evidence to that, the board today.
Well, the letter that I submitted is also hearsay. So So, I mean, I didn't know, if you want me to,
No, I just meant there's no, I don't know of any variances that we've granted.
you could
Currently.
probably take judicial notice of that if we want to go back. I mean, the act of which I'm asking for a variance was passed in
Well,
1978.
regardless, we don't need to go that. The other thing is, we don't know what the unique circumstances they might presented to be able to get their waiver. This is a different case than that. So,
I agree. I've been in their houses, and I can tell you that none of them are doing it to build an in-law suite where they're trying to, accommodate the needs of someone in your immediate family who's growing older and needs care.
okay. Yeah, I'd really like to have the floodplain map available and to determine the floodway of the property, but that would be one of the first things I would do if I'm submitting a case about floodplains to the zoning board for the. The other thing I just have a question on is the in-law suite itself. Do you plan to have space for a kitchen?
No,
There'll be a countertop.
just a countertop with a sink and like a small fridge.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Thanks.
Jessica?
What height are you bringing up the concrete wall to in the new addition?
It'll be probably 2 by 10 floor construction, so it'll go probably right up to 11, 12 inches below the first floor.
Okay, so the concrete will not extend up into the floodplain, or it won't end at your floodplain level of 185 feet.
No, I mean, we could do a cheek wall where it goes up, but,
Okay, and
it's a possibility we could do that.
what are the proposed finishes for both the basement and the addition?
So we don't plan on putting really anything in the basement. Again, the only reason we're trying to make it part of the basement is to actually improve the ability for the house to.
I mean on the exterior.
Oh,
The exterior, it's gonna be a concrete foundation.
And that'll just be exposed
That'll
concrete.
be exposed,
Okay.
yep, and that's what's there now.
And-
Whole neighborhood, really.
yeah, we're planning on just, have to look at the cost of it, but probably redoing the siding in the whole house so that it all matches. I mean, if the cost is way too much, then we probably would just do siding all the way across the back of the house. Again, like, no one can really see the back of the house, but I don't want to do that. I would rather replace the siding on the whole house so that it all matches.
Okay, I don't have any other questions at this time.
Chris, have you been in your neighbors' houses?
Yeah.
Have you been inside 103 Waterview?
Is 103 Paul and Heather, obviously,
I can't read their signature. It
that
looks
could be
like
Chris Marks.
Paul.
Yeah, I think that's Paul and Heather, obviously. Yeah, I was in their house the other day.
Are all the houses, minus whatever additions may or may not have been installed, pretty much the same size, configuration?
The same size, not the same configuration. So the 103, where ours is sort of a rectangle going horizontal to the creek, theirs are sort of a rectangle going more perpendicular, like back into the creek. Both the Aviziers, I think all three of them are more that way. Like the footprint of the houses are more that way. So they've all basically extended the back of the house to make a bigger kitchen and make a bigger deck off the side.
Well, I asked Kelly what variances were granted along, and in her search, 2 showed up. One was granted in 1998 at 103, and the addition size is 14 by 16.5, and no basement was permitted.
Okay.
So that was the size.
So they don't, we talked about that the other day. They don't have a basement below theirs.
Right. That was a condition of the board at that time for approval of that, and the size was 14 feet by 16.5 feet.
Up on stilts, is that what you had?
I think it is.
I mean, if you had brought in the decision, I would be able to read the whole thing, but at the quick
So it
search-
is, I mean, I was literally in their house the other day. It is up on stilts. It's closed in, like, it's not closed in like wall. It's like, they store things under there. Like, they have a gate where they store like the lawnmower and stuff under there. So similar to,
Is it slats? In other words,
no, like it's solid. It's not like underneath mine, I have lattice work so water can flow through it.
Yeah.
But it is closed in. But again, I don't particularly care about the basement. My whole theory on the basement was that it would protect the rest of the house, but like that's not.
Yeah, the existing house, the basement is CMU. This is gonna be concrete wall to really kind of hold out the water. I mean, we don't have to do it, probably be cheaper if we didn't, but, you know, then you run into different issues with the insulation under the floor. It never really stays warm, no matter what you do with the plumbing
And
freezes.
107 would have you had a variance for a deck with no enclosure underneath, which in my 20 years on this board is what we typically do with anything that's built, you know, even close to water, not even if it's in a floodplain.
I gotta tell you, I'm shocked that the one next to 103, Varsha, I mean, they built out, I was in her house like a couple weeks ago too, and they built it up similar, it's not as big, it's probably 10 feet off the back of the house, and it's the same thing as 103. They blew out the back of their kitchen, and I don't have the letter in front of me, so I'm not sure what her number is, but she's the one who was the original owner of the house. Her husband passed away maybe 2 years ago, and she told us that we blew out this kitchen and blew out the back of the house, so. I don't want to get her in trouble. I don't know. I mean, that was a long time ago, but yeah, so that's why I just assumed she had to be here because it's like the same thing.
What year was that, Bill?
The 107 was 2005. Bill, wait, one question.
Yeah.
Is the size that you're proposing the minimum size to accommodate your mother-in-law?
I mean, it's the size of, I suppose it could be a few feet smaller, but it's, she lives in like a 1,200 square foot rancher right now. So, she's used to living in a small area, but this is what we would like, I would say. I mean,
Bill?
so the suite looks like it has its own laundry facility in it?
yeah, so right as you walk in through what is currently the window and will be the door, we were gonna put a stacked washer and dryer right there.
Okay. And, you know, one of the concerns that we have for in-law suites, of course, is at some future time, it becomes a rental.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, the question had been whether there's a kitchen, and the answer is no, although there's a kitchenette depicted on it, and you suggested there would be
There's the plans. I'm sorry.
sink and prep space, prep counter space, sink and refrigeration. So the idea is that there wouldn't be any cooking facilities.
Yes.
That's the distinction that you're trying to make? And if we were to grant a variance, you know, I don't know whether we'd allow any kitchen facilities because.
Okay.
And there is a separate entrance now that you're proposing, which would be off the rear deck?
Yeah, we were gonna put like a sliding glass door. So
And that's often one of the other limitations that you see is in order to avoid effectively an accessory dwelling unit being created, that it really has to be a familial suite because it doesn't have a separate entrance and it doesn't have separate cooking facilities and it can't be leased.
So the only reason we were thinking we wanted that exit way onto the deck is like a fire hazard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I get it.
So I 100% hear what you're saying. And with the kitchen issue, like I don't know what like, is a fridge and a sink equal a kitchen? Does a fridge, a sink, and a stove equal a kitchen? Like, whatever, you know what I mean?
The
Like,
HUD views prep cooking facilities as being, because a lot of people have little refrigerators, but I think that that's how they define a rental unit. I believe, Tom, you may know
With the
differently, but I think in
cooking-
multifamily housing, that's how they
Cooking,
look at it.
definitely. You know, you can have a prep area, a bar, you know, countertop, and any type of facility, really.
Okay, so, and then the existing, it looks, I just want to make sure, because the existing, it looks like stairs off the deck, that would be removed, and the deck would be finished right up against to the side of this new, right? Okay,
yeah, that whole point in what we're asking for with the deck is just to make it go right up to the side of it.
right.
And to the concern of the, like, separate entrance, again, like, our reasoning behind that is really the fire
I got it.
issue, so.
I understand.
If there's a different kind of door or something that you think would decrease the likelihood of making it a rental.
And I think the fact that they have to walk across the deck to get in there, no one's gonna wanna rent that out.
I got it.
Yeah.
Well, this is a variance request, so it goes with the property forever.
Right,
So
that's,
why don't we just,
Yeah.
we ask point blank, if your application were approved, would you agree to a condition that this addition never be rented,
Yes, of course.
leased to anyone?
Yes.
and then, so Tom, I want to ask you a couple questions, because I think you've been through the section of our code for flood plain construction, right?
Yep.
I presume you're familiar with all of those code sections, right?
Pretty much.
And I did see the letter that you submitted, which I don't remember, but it's,
I'm pulling it up.
A2. But, so, bear with me here. So, is this proposal consistent with the need to minimize flood damage? And this is in
It'll
your professional
exceed.
opinion.
Yes, it'll exceed.
And the proposed lowest floor and basement elevations are based on North American vertical datum of 1988?
Well, whatever the flood certificate says there, I'm not sure if it was 1988.
And will all utilities and facilities be located, elevated, and constructed to minimize or eliminate flood damage?
Yes,
So all utilities will be as high off the ground as possible, and if it's in the basement, it's electric at the ceiling, other than presumably a sump pump. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I had talked to Dan about the possibility of moving the whole electric panel up into our garage, but if even to do that, we would still have, all the endings of it would still be in the basement. Like, we're sort of stuck with where our electric panel is, unfortunately.
Okay. And do you believe there's adequate drainage provided in the plan to reduce exposure to flood hazard?
yes, we're gonna have inside and outside.
Okay, and then I believe in your letter, you suggested that, you thought the addition would be properly anchored and strapped. So let me just ask, because the code says, will they be firmly anchored in accordance with accepted engineering practices to prevent flotation, collapse, or lateral movement?
Yes, they will, and we actually use hold downs for hurricane hold downs is what we use on top of anchor bolts these days.
All air ducts, pipes, large pipes, storage tanks, or other similar objects or components located below the regulatory flood elevation will be securely anchored or affixed to prevent flotation?
Yes,
And the building materials are flood resistant?
yes,
All of them, right? Have you used appropriate practices to minimize flood damage?
yes,
Okay, and electrical, heating, ventilation, plumbing, air conditioning equipment, and other service facilities are designed and located to prevent water entry or accumulation?
yes,
Okay, and then it sounds like this is going to be a basement underneath it, as proposed at least, right?
Yes, and again, if the board doesn't want that, that's not the purpose of this. Again,
Right.
relying on the experts to say that it would actually protect the structure more to do that.
Okay, and then, Chris, there is limitations on what you can store in that basement because it's in the floodplain. Are you aware of those limitations on the types of hazardous materials that cannot be in there?
I was not, but I have no need to store anything additional in there at all.
So things like paint thinner and stuff like that would not be allowed?
Okay. We don't have anything
There's a
down.
whole list of items.
I actually did see that when I was reading through the code for today's hearing, and yes, we have no desire to store any of that in our
Okay.
basement.
Some of them, you know, it's not clear. It says no sodium, so rock salt maybe, right? Things like calcium chloride that you might have stored for to clear your driveway or.
Yeah, we have anything like that is actually in our garage, so we don't. We have kids.
Okay, and so let's talk a little bit about hardship, right? Because you do have to sort of establish the hardship. What, in your view, what is the hardship? And keep in mind that this provision of the code establishes exceptional hardship, which is an even higher standard than normal.
I didn't realize, I mean, in all honesty, I realized that we were in a floodplain because I was required to buy flood insurance, but at the time that we purchased the home, we didn't have any understanding that we wouldn't be able to do something like this, to have my mother-in-law potentially move into the house. And again, looking at the other houses in the neighborhood, you could see that similarly situated houses did have, you know, opportunity to add on to. And we're the primary caregivers for my mother-in-law. My father-in-law passed away 15 years ago. And she's in good enough health right now, but as her health declines, this is the primary means which we're able to afford in order to like take care of her. So that's the entire motivation to do this.
Okay, and then the code also requires that you, Chris, are required to comply with all applicable requirements of the National Flood Insurance Program regulations. I assume that you already covenanted to do that in
Yes.
connection with your insurance,
Yes.
but, and you would covenant to comply with that for the benefit of the granting of this variance?
Yes.
Okay, and then, I don't have any other questions, so thank you. I just want to make sure that on the record, we're checking off all the elements here if we were to grant a variance.
I appreciate you doing that.
Jesse?
And just to wrap that up with a bow, and Mr. Wiedemann, you have kind of attested to all that and affixed your registered architect seal and signature?
Yes.
And that was Exhibit A2. And of course, Kelly, all of these items, if the variance was to be granted, would be again reviewed by, fully reviewed, all the documents would be reviewed by the codes department, right, before any kind of building permit?
They would need review and approval by the township engineer for building in the floodplain, followed by building permit approval.
So there'd be an even additional layer of review?
Correct.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. They've all been asked already. Thank you.
Anything else, Jessica? No. Ed?
No.
Bill?
No.
And neither do I. Is there anything else you'd like to add, either of you?
No, I thank you for your time.
Right, and before I close the record on this case, I have a question for our solicitor, so we're gonna take a 2-minute break. Off the record, more appropriately addressed by an engineer that's familiar with, what's the actual name of it? Civil engineer that can address the floodplain issues with an updated map. Not saying Tom didn't do a great job.
No, I understand. I spoke with counsel. I would ask for the board to continue this hearing and to keep the record open. I will get an engineer and present more evidence to you. I appreciate your not ruling today and allowing me to do that.
You're welcome. October 6th, right? Now, that being said, if there's any other testimony you want to put on tonight, we could take that.
I don't have anything additional tonight.
Then I'll ask if there's anyone present that received certified mail that wishes to testify. Anyone present? Did you receive certified mail? Anyone that received regular mail? Any other residents of Haverford Township? With that, we'll continue this case to our October 6th hearing.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next case is Z22-23, Peter and Sally Murphy, owners of 2 West Ardmore Avenue, Ardmore, PA, DC folio number 2204-0001400, and Carol DeColi, executrix of the estate of Dolly D'Amato, owner of 10 West Ardmore Avenue, Ardmore, PA, DC folio number 2204-0001200, and 2204-0017400, who seek a variance from provisions of section 182713 to subdivide an undeveloped lot located on Ardmore Avenue where the existing parcels are non-conforming in respect to minimum lot size, maximum impervious surface coverage, and the required side yard setbacks of the R1 zoning district, pursuant to section 182202C. The subdivision will transfer 9,280 square feet to 10 West Ardmore Avenue, resulting in a lot area of 26,330 square feet, and transfer 6,920 square feet to 2 West Ardmore Avenue, resulting in a lot area of 26,952 square feet. Property is on R1 and located in the 4th Ward. Are you Peter?
Good evening. I am not. My name is David Porter, professional engineer from Herbert E. Maccombie Consulting Engineers and Surveyors Incorporated. I'm representing Peter Murphy at 2 West Ardmore Avenue and the executrix for 10 West Ardmore Avenue, Carol DeColi. Before I go any further, I intend to give professional testimony tonight, so I have my curriculum vitae available as an Exhibit A1.
Okay. Do you have pre-marked exhibits?
I do not.
And are your clients, the applicants, present this evening as well?
Yes, they are both present. I do not intend to call them as witnesses unless the board has questions for them.
And Dave, do you know which of the attachments to your zoning packet you want to mark as exhibits for the board's consideration?
I would like to mark the deeds of record.
Wait.
And if they're not included in the packet, I apologize, they're not up here electronically. If they're not included in the packet, I do have a hard copy to move into the record.
A1, the deed, A2. What's the other exhibits that you have? So the deed?
The deed for 2 West Ardmore Avenue, the deed for 10 West Ardmore Avenue.
So A1 is the deed for 2 West, A2 is the deed for 10 West. What else, David?
My curriculum vitae.
So we'll make that A3.
Before you do that, hold on. The packet that we got had the first pages of 3 deeds. One says it's lot number 14 on the original plan designated as 2 Ardmore Avenue. Another one says it's lot number 12 Ardmore Avenue. And the last one says number 10 Ardmore Avenue. Are 2 of these the same property?
If I might take a look.
This one's
Yes,
2 Ardmore.
2 Ardmore Avenue.
Into the Murphys. And you have an older one from 1971 that was Samuel's into D'Amato's.
Yes.
And that says lot number 12 Ardmore Avenue. But then the
Correct.
last one is I guess, or maybe this, hold on. Yeah, it's the, no, the pagination's weird. Same book, pagination's different. That says it's 10 Ardmore Avenue. So you think the second and third pages of this are both for 10 Ardmore?
Yes, they're both the same deed of record, but they describe two parcels. So 10 West Ardmore Avenue and the parcel just to the north that is subject of the subdivision.
4 pages, right, total. The first page is 2, so that would be A1, just the 1 page, and then A2 is 3 pages?
Correct.
Yeah, there is exhibits.
Yep.
So A3 will be a CV, and presumably what this mark will identify, David?
Please. And the plan itself would be Exhibit 4, A4.
Do you want to swear him in?
Yep. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and the capacity in which you appear this evening?
David M., as in Michael Porter, professional engineer with Herbert E. McCombie Jr., PE Consulting Engineers and Surveyors Incorporated, representing the applicants for 2 West Ardmore Avenue and 10 West Ardmore Avenue in a matter of a final minor subdivision. The applicants are seeking, in accordance with the application before the zoning board, variances as stated previously. In particular, the existing lots are all existing non-conforming with regard to lot area. And draw the board's attention to the plan on the overhead.
If you don't mind, before you go, I thought you were going to give like a little bit of a synopsis and not going to do it. So if you don't mind, Mr. Porter, just briefly, how long have you been an engineer with McCombie?
I've been there for a total of approximately 20 years.
And are you a licensed civil engineer?
Yes, I am.
And what specific licensing do you hold?
I'm a professional engineer with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
How long have you been a professional engineer?
Since 2019.
And have you testified as an expert as a civil engineer before zoning hearing boards previously?
I have.
And have you testified before this board previously?
I have.
And in that testimony, have you been admitted as an expert in the field of civil engineering?
Yes, I have.
Board have any other questions? Okay, we'll admit you as qualify you as a civil engineer expert.
Okay, thank you. So without further ado, the plan on the overhead represents the 3 subject parcels. The one highlighted in green is 2 West Ardmore Avenue. The one highlighted in blue is 10 West Ardmore Avenue. And the deed of record, which is also included with 10 West Ardmore Avenue, describes parcel number 3, which is highlighted in orange. As I stated, each lot is existing non-conforming with regard to lot area. They're all situated within the R1 low-density residential zoning district. The minimum lot area in this district is 1 acre. Each lot is approximately less than 20,000 acre or 20,000 square feet. So the intent is to subdivide the parcel number 3 and consolidate each subdivided piece of parcel number 3 with lot 1 and lot number 2. What that does achieve at this time would be to decrease the non-conforming nature of the lots, although they will not achieve the minimum lot area. They also are non-conforming with regard to side yard and rear yard setbacks, impervious coverage, and building coverage. So the subdivision and consolidating the lots would allow for a reduction in the nonconformity for parcel 1 and 2 with respect to lot size, a reduction in the nonconformity with respect to impervious coverage for parcel 2, It will also eliminate the nonconformities for parcel 2 with respect to building coverage. On parcel 1 and 2, it will eliminate the rear yard nonconformity, and on parcel 1, it will eliminate the impervious coverage nonconformity. There is no development proposed with the subdivision, the lot consolidations, and because of those circumstances, there's no detriment to the surrounding nature of the neighborhoods. So there are unique physical circumstances with regard to lots, as I mentioned, that they're existing non-conforming. So each property was originally subdivided back in 1928. There's a plan reference on our subdivision plan that refers to an original subdivision of October 10th, 1928, on a plan made by Frank L. D'Amato, prepared by Marzette W. Meekins, surveyor, dated January 11th, 1972, which is referenced on the subdivision plan. The configurations of the lots obviously predate both property owners, so they had no control over the configuration of the dwellings and improvements on the lots or the lots themselves. As previously mentioned, the executrix for the D'Amatos who owned parcel 2 and parcel 3 is settling that estate, and with that has the ability to authorize subdivision, has worked with the property owner at 2 West Ardmore Avenue, who would like the opportunity to acquire some additional land, one, to basically improve the amount of usable outdoor space that they have on the property. As you can see from the green highlighted section, they have very little rear yard, and with a family that's up and coming with some younger kids, it's a pretty important thing that they'd like to have. They'd also like to improve the functionality of the lot as well, so they see the opportunity to take advantage of settlement of this estate and purchasing some additional ground to achieve that goal. So with that, the proposed subdivision would show the additional ground for the blue lot, which is parcel number 2, and parcel number 1 would be the green lot. So with that, the variance, as I mentioned, there is the hardship is not self-imposed. The hardship is that the lots are existing non-conforming. The residents had no control over that when they purchased the lots. They're before the zoning board tonight, in particular because section 182-713B requires that no lot shall be formed from a part of a lot already occupied by a building unless the existing building and any proposed buildings comply in all respects with the area and other requirements of the district in which the building is located. So even with the subdivision and consolidating the lots, they still would have existing non-conformities with the lots. Even though some are being eliminated and some are being reduced, there still will be the non-conformities. So that necessitates coming before the board for zoning variances. And because of those particular circumstances, the subdivision cannot occur in strict conformance with the base zoning district. As I mentioned, the hardship has not been created by the applicants. They are seeking through this subdivision to reduce the existing nonconformities. The variance will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood or district in which the property is located. The variance will allow the essential character of the neighborhood to be maintained. In fact, from the street, looking from Ardmore Avenue at the street, you would notice, in fact, no change to the properties through this subdivision. As I mentioned, there is no proposed development related to this. Looking at the property from Darby Road, would essentially look similar, although the property transfer will allow usage of the rear yard by the owner of parcel 1 now. Authorization of the variances will not substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of the adjacent property, nor be detrimental to public welfare. Again, there's no proposed development with the subdivision. And again, they eliminate variances, or they eliminate and reduce existing nonconformities, which will maintain the consistency with the essential character of the neighborhood. The variances, if authorized, will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and will represent the least modification possible to the regulation in issue. The variances are only necessary because, again, the existing lots are non-conforming, and Section 182-713B requires the variance because the lots are non-conforming.
And David, this would lessen the non-conformity.
That's correct. That's correct.
Can I ask one clarifier? You talked about some of the nonconformities being eliminated, and I didn't think you mentioned the rear lot of parcel 1. Wouldn't this also eliminate their rear setback?
Yes.
Nonconformity?
Correct.
I thought I missed that. Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay, at this time, I have nothing further to add.
Any questions, Jessica?
Do you know if the intent is to remove the curb cut on Darby Road that's currently used by parcel number 3?
At this point in time, no. The curb cut would remain on Darby Road. That curb cut was actually used by the owners of parcel number 2 and parcel number 3 as kind of a pass-through. So, as I mentioned, the owners of parcel 1 would like to improve the functionality of their lot. They have, young kids that they're doing a lot of back and forth for, different kind of events and activities. They would like to separate the driveways between the 2 lots, and then at some point in time connect so that they would be able to take advantage of that pass-through. Instead of right now, currently, they use the driveway on Darby Road, which allows them for turnaround to, enter back onto the highway in a forward motion. But it's, at rush hour, it's very difficult to get in and out of there because of the queuing at the intersection. So that's ultimately what they would like to do there.
Thank you.
Sure.
No further questions.
Ed?
Yeah, just a quick, the parcel to the left of these 2 lots in question, or 3 lots in question, is also owned by the same individual?
Yes.
Is there any plans known about that? Because I see they've removed part of a patio.
Yes, I think there was a little bit of a patio that encroached across that property line. They have not indicated that they have plans for that lot for development for anything. This is simple subdivisions just related to the 3rd parcel and the applicants that are owners of parcel 1.
Which lot are we talking about? Oh, okay, got it.
You know if it's 1 lot or 2 lots? There's a fence, that's why I run down to the center.
Yeah, I believe it's 1 lot.
And do you know if that lot's in compliance?
As far as lot area, no, I don't believe it's in compliance with minimum lot area.
Okay, no other questions.
Bill?
So just to be clear, along the property line of the proposed subdivision between 1 and 2, or consolidation, I guess, it says existing drive to be removed for a minimum of 2 feet off the property line. So right now, the driveway goes all the way across lot 3 and then connects into lot 2 in the back corner, and there's paved road all the way through, and they're gonna break a piece of the pavement off.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
And so the proposed lot 1, as if this were granted, has a impervious surface of 26.3%, correct?
Proposed lot one, yes, correct,
Okay.
26.3.
And that includes then the existing asphalt driveway that is currently on lot 3, that calculation?
Correct.
Okay. So you're not going to remove it, and they do plan to use it in the future?
Yes.
Okay. Looking over at lot 2, you know, the most egregious encroachment of the lot 2 is along the property line where there's a stone patio and what appears to be some sort of hexagonal brick planter,
Yes.
where it's right against the property line. There's other portions of the existing improvements that are in that new side yard setback, I guess, or, well, I can't tell the distance, but I presume that that stone patio is in the side yard setback. Is that right?
Yes.
The little square one?
Correct.
Have they thought about removing that?
Not at this juncture.
And that would help, I believe, if it were removed, and let's say this hexagonal planter below it, would that bring the property within the side yard setback, or is I'm trying to figure out, so there's apparently a fence here, right? Along, down the side of the property in the back? Is that an existing fence?
Which fence are you referring to?
Higher up in that.
Lot 2.
Lot 2.
Up here?
Yeah, go up.
Up here.
Right there. Is that a fence?
Yes.
Okay, is that fence along the setback, the side yard setback line?
It is not.
It's not, it's inside the side yard setback?
It's within the side yard.
It's within the side yard.
Yes.
So that fence isn't going to be moved to the property line?
No.
Okay, and so all of these encumbrances, or encroachments rather, that are inside the side yard setback, none of them are proposed to be removed to help bring this property more into conformity?
Well, my understanding with regard to the planter and the fence,
And the stone patio?
And the stone patio, they're not necessarily buildings that are subject to the side yard setback. So
Agreed, but they're part of a lot 2 impervious that exceeds it. So the removal of the stone patio and the planter in theory would reduce your impervious, right?
I'm looking at our tabulation to make sure that planter.
You're at
is included.
38.6% according
Yes.
to you. So
Yeah.
and it's one of the things that is better, but the question is, couldn't it be a little bit better?
It could.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Jesse?
No questions.
And neither do I. Anything else, Jessica?
No.
Ed?
No.
Bill?
No.
Jesse? Anything else you would like to add, David?
I just wanted to clarify that in our building and impervious coverage tabulation, we account for patio, walks, landing, walls, pillars, but we do not have the planters in there. So I believe the planter, whatever surrounding that's pervious, so we did not count that in the impervious calculation, so. And I do want to point out that the parcel number 2 went from an impervious surface of 55%, which exceeded the requirement by 25%, and that was knocked down to 38.6%. So,
Thank you. With that, I'll ask if there's anyone present that received certified mail that wishes to testify. Anyone that received regular mail? Any other residents of Haverford Township? With that, we'll close the record on this case, and the decision will be rendered either this evening. And if we're not able to render a decision this evening, one would be rendered at our next meeting on October 6th.
thank you.
Thank you. good to go? Jesse, you good to go? Just roll. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. With respect to case Z 22-20, Jennifer Follietta, lessee of 1245 Westchester Pike. I won't read the rest of the description into the record unless someone specifically requests that I do so. Jessica, are you prepared to vote?
Yes.
Ed, are you prepared?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
And so am I. Jesse, would you please take that decision?
That was Jess was doing that one.
Jessica, sorry.
Sure. I would make a motion to approve the application with the following conditions. First, that only one employee will be allowed to work on the premise. Second, that there will be no walk-up clients. And third, that the work will be completed within 1 year and in accordance with the notes of testimony.
Ed?
I concur.
Bill?
I agree.
Jesse?
I agree.
And so do I. That application is approved with those conditions, 5-0. Good luck. Oop, dropped your phone. Good luck.
Good luck.
With respect to case Z 22-21, John and Mary Kathleen Nawn, owners of 124 East Eagle Road. And again, I won't read the rest of the description into the record unless someone specifically requests that I do so. Jessica, are you prepared to vote?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Jesse, would you like to take that decision, please?
Yes, with regards to case Z 22-21, I would recommend the variance be approved with the following conditions. That water runoff be managed so as not to adversely impact the neighbors. The project will be completed within 1 year and in accordance with the notes of testimony.
Okay. Jessica?
I disagree.
Ed?
I agree.
Bill?
I agree.
And so do I. That application is approved for. With respect to case Z 22-23, Peter and Sally Murphy, owners of 2 West Ardmore. I won't read the rest of the description into the record unless someone specifically requests that I do so. Jessica, are you prepared to vote?
I am.
Ed?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
And so am I. Ed, would you please take that decision?
I make a motion to approve the requested relief with no conditions. And we don't have to worry about notes of testimony, but in accordance with the notes of testimony, and it doesn't have to be done within 1 year. So let's just say no condition.
Other than the notes of testimony.
Right.
Jessica?
I agree.
Bill?
I agree.
Jesse?
I agree.
So do I. That application is approved 5-0. Any other administrative matters anyone needs to discuss? Any other business? All right, Ernie, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
To Bill Malone, thank you for all your years of service. With that, we are adjourned.